Hey everybody, this is Rabbit's blog and welcome to my TV episode review series. Today's episode that I will be reviewing today is on the second episode of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series, 084. Now, before I get into what I liked and hated about this episode, I would like to give out a brief summary on this episode. In this episode, Phil Coulson's group heads up to Peru to find a mysterious object, and they ended up running into Comandante Camilla Reyes, who happened to be a longtime acquaintance of Phil Coulson. As Coulson's group continues to argue among themselves, they would soon realize that they must work together to defeat a greater threat than they ever faced before. Now, after I saw the pilot episode, I was actually interested in seeing more stories from the show, and even more development of the characters. Well, we finally get to see more character development in this episode, as it focuses more on how the group try to get along with each other, despite their differences. I like the fact that we get to see the relationships between the characters, especially between Sky and Grant, as it seems that they might develop a romantic relationship later on in the series. I also love the mystery surrounding Melinda May's character, as the other characters mentioned that she was a part of the cavalry, which is something that she doesn't like to talk about, and I would be interested to see what Melinda used to do before she joined S.H.I.E.L.D. Also, I love the fact that Melinda is able to fight efficiently throughout this episode, as it makes her into an extremely interesting character, and I would love to learn more about where she learned her martial arts skills from. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this episode was that they actually traveled to another country, in this case Peru. Usually whenever I see a TV series that's based around a secret spy organization, I would expect to see the characters travel around the world to perform their missions. So, I was glad to see S.H.I.E.L.D. actually travel around the world, and I hope to see S.H.I.E.L.D. travel to other countries in later episodes. The only problem I had with this episode was that I'm still not sure about what S.H.I.E.L.D.'s true motive is, and why they are going around the world collecting alien artifacts. I would have loved it if they had actually explained what S.H.I.E.L.D.'s true motives are for collecting these alien artifacts, and what they would do with them, and they probably explained that in the pilot episode, but I probably didn't understand it at the time. I'm also having problems with the two characters Fitz and Simmons, just like many of the fans are having. The major issue I'm having with these two characters is that they don't seem to be as well developed as the other characters in this episode, as the majority of their dialogue consists of scientific terms, and I can barely understand what they are saying most of the time. Now, I understand that they are scientists and they are supposed to talk about certain situations scientifically, but I wish that some of their dialogues were spoken normally, so we could get a sense of their real personalities, and how they would get along with other characters, without constantly speaking in scientific terms. Maybe their character growth in the future will involve them not speaking in scientific terms all the time, once they start getting along with the other characters, and I hope to see this growth come about in later episodes, so they could flesh out into better characters. Overall, I give the second episode, 084, a thumbs up. It's definitely a step up from the pilot episodes. The characters are better developed, and there seems to be more secrets coming out from each character. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the third episode of this series, and I hope that this show continues to get better over time. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this show or this episode yet, then please feel free to skip over this section. But if you have seen this episode and you wish to hear about what I think about these particular scenes, then keep watching. When I saw the final scene with Samuel L. Jackson coming in as Nick Fury, I was pleasantly surprised by this cameo, as Samuel L. Jackson did a fantastic job at acting all comical with Nick Fury, and yet there was that line about whether or not Coulson should really trust Skye at this point. It also makes me wonder if any of the other characters from the Avengers movies, Black Widow, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor, would show up in this series as cameos, and add more to the story at hand. Speaking of Skye, I was actually shocked at the end of the episode where it's revealed that she seems to be working for the Rising Tide. I think this is an interesting development for the story, since I'm now wondering if Skye will betray S.H.I.E.L.D. to Rising Tide, or she will eventually join S.H.I.E.L.D's side once she discovers where her true loyalties lie. Well, that's my episode review on the second episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 084, and be sure to check out my other videos in the near future. This is Rabbit's blog, and I'll see you later.